And I looked at the numbers this morning. 70% of everybody ICE arresting is a criminal. The other 30% are gang members who don't have criminal histories, national security threats, we're arresting them by the thousands, and those with final orders. They had due process at great taxpayer expense. A federal judge ordered them removed. They become fugitives. We're looking for them too. So how do we send that message? We send the message by looking at the numbers again this morning. We got a historic number of prosecutions for 111. That is impediment, assault, interference. So if they cross that line, you throw a stone, you're going to jail. You put hands on an ICE officer, you're going to jail. You make a threat, either online or in person, you're going to jail. And President Trump has made it clear to me over a month ago, zero tolerance. You cross that line and move from a protester to a criminal, zero tolerance. You will be prosecuted. And Pam Bondi has got all the U.S. attorneys across the nations on board. They will not decline these prosecutions. So my warning to them, you can protest all you want. Exercise your First Amendment rights. You cross that line, you're going to jail.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. With the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we have to head on over to the People's Republic of Chicago because we need to talk about Operation Midway Blitz. And I definitely feel like this is not going to be the first and only video on this situation. Now, as many of you know right now, there's operation going on in Chicago called Operation Midway Blitz, where they're taking, as they like to say, the worst of the worst off the streets. And they are doing that indeed. What's interesting about this operation is it's not to say that these operations aren't targeting the worst of the worst, because they all do target those who have criminal convictions and things of that nature. But here in Chicago, you're not seeing anything of the nature concerning, Home Depot raids and things like that. What you're seeing is very strategic operations going after very specific people, not catching them in public so much as much as they attempt to catch them in the home, or maybe getting gas, or just in a situation where when the encounter occurs, it's as peaceful and non-chaotic as possible. And what this does is that though people still come out, it shows people's true colors in terms of how ignorant they are to what's actually going on and how brainwashed they are with the Democrat Party concerning nonsense surrounding racism and ICE discriminating against Hispanics. And that's what I look to prove the point of today in this video. So let's start here. I want to start with this Fox News clip just to kind of introduce the Operation Midway Blitz going on in Chicago. But then we're going to unpack the foolishness of Democrats even more in terms of how they're making this a racial thing when it's not a racial thing. But let's get into this video clip first.
The surge has begun. You can see the new ICE vehicles on the streets here in Chicago. We're just outside the Cook County Courthouse, but that surge is part of the ICE-led Operation Midway Blitz that they say is in honor of a beautiful young Chicago woman, Katie Abraham, who was killed by an illegal alien drunk driver back in January of this year. And while we are getting reaction from Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, who says that this blitz won't make Chicagoans safer, let me show you this video. Early this morning, I was out with one of ICE's teams, and we arrested this individual. His name is Juan Gaspar, and he is a 43-year-old illegal alien from Mexico. He has been convicted in 2024 of forcibly sexually assaulting a child under the age of 13. He was taken, as you can see here, without incident, but this is all part of the exact sort of violent criminal illegal alien that the ICE operations hope to bring in, apprehend, and ultimately deport. We were riding along with ICE's Deputy Director, Madison Sheehan. She talked a little bit about this operation to us, as well as what she has to say to the Democrats that are criticizing it. Listen.
This is an opportunity for us to go into sanctuary cities and work against these sanctuary city policies and not let them deter ICE from being able to do our work, to go after the worst of the worst, just like the guy behind me who committed sexual assault against a minor. I mean, these criminal aliens have wreaked havoc on the American people for years, and that time is over. And even when we have pushback from Democrat leadership, that's not going to stop us. We're going to continue to go after the worst of the worst, just like somebody who committed sexual assault against a minor.
And this is just day one, Martha. We understand this could go on for weeks as they surge more ICE personnel as well as federal law enforcement partners. Martha?
So you see, this is what I'm talking about here. They arrested that monster, and hopefully, and obviously, they're going to deport him. But there's a monster who, as I say, violated a child under the age of 13. Violated, right? Violated a child under the age of 13. And look at this here. As far as that situation go, it went uninterrupted, without like liberal DNC lunatic protesters and whatnot getting in the way. But there's this other situation here that occurred in Chicago that I want to pull up for you right now. Give me just a moment. I'm going to pull this up for you in just a moment. Check this out here. You see, typically this is how situations go when DNC lunatics who have been brainwashed with their heads full of nonsense pull up to a situation where ICE is conducting one of their operations. They'll be removing someone who has violated children, and you'll have people like this pull up to the scene with their camera out, cursing ICE out and any and everybody in the vicinity that appears to be working along with ICE, right, to capture what's going on. In this particular case here, I'm not going to play the video. I try to be a little bit more careful with playing, other people's stuff these days. But, this comes from, what's my man's name again? Ben from Real America Voices, right? And they have real good stuff at Real America's Voices. But that's what this is. And what was captured here, right, was this arrest of this guy right here. He was arrested, as you can see here, illegal immigrant who has, multiple, convictions and stuff like that for just committing heinous acts. And then all of a sudden, this guy pulls up mad with whoever the woman is in the car, and he's cursing ICE out. He's cursing the cameraman out. He's saying that, oh my God, you guys are discriminating against Hispanics, and that guy's not a criminal, but you don't even know what's going on. You have no clue what's going on. But the reason that people like this are so ignorant and woefully misinformed is because of people like my troll-faced mayor out of Los Angeles, Mayor Karen Bass. I want to play this clip for you very quick from Karen Bass. It's so unbelievably irresponsible what she's getting ready to say right now. And I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to play that clip for you now. So give me a second. I'm going to cue it up.
It really amounts to hunting people that look like they're Latino. It's hard to get your car washed in LA now. Why? Because they prey on car washes.
I'm going to play that again.
It really amounts to hunting people that look like they're Latino. It's hard to get your car washed in LA now. Why? Because they prey on car washes.
Number one, as someone who lives in Los Angeles, it's not hard to get your car washed at all whatsoever. They're all open. It's a non-issue. But that's not the point. She's putting out nonsense saying that Latinos are being hunted. They're being hunted. If you let her tell it, as you just heard, Latinos are being hunted by masked men that are disappearing people. That should be a crime. To lie that egregiously on top of having a dumb looking troll face, right? That should be something that you should be held accountable for lying that hard. And you wonder why assaults against ICE agents have gone up 1,000%. How do you fix your mouth to say that, to lie in such a fashion like that? And like I said in my previous video that I released about the troll-faced mayor Karen Bass, she's setting up her constituents and Democrats all across the country to catch Fed cases. She is setting you all up to get hit with felony Fed charges. Okay, if you thought your life was hard now, living in a liberal city, a blue city, right, where you're taxed out of the wazoo and can't afford anything, your life is going to be significantly harder when you have a federal felony conviction on your record. If you thought your life was hard now, it'll be significantly harder then. And I played this video in my last video about Karen Bass, but I want to play it again to reiterate this point. She is setting all of you up to catch cases, and she does not care. You're just a pawn and a tool. Look at this clip here of how she set this guy up here in LA to catch a case.
A man is facing charges this morning of assault with a deadly weapon on a federal officer. The weapon was a skateboard. Homeland Security agents arrested a woman this morning on a federal warrant in downtown LA at Aliso and Alameda. Police say a man then hit an agent with a skateboard to help the woman who was being detained. The federal agent was injured. The woman got away, but police arrested the man with the skateboard. His name has not yet been released.
What an idiot. How stupid do you have to be? But once again, I know I say this all the time, and it's so irritating because you know nothing's going to happen, but there should be some kind of way for, you know, this troll-faced demon, Karen Bass, to be held accountable for this kind of stuff. She should be held accountable for that, because it's this type of rhetoric that she's spewing that causes situations like that. So while ICE is trying to do their job to legitimately capture criminals, you have people running up on them with skateboards and assaulting them, allowing people like this to escape and go free, right? And this is just an example. This is not this guy literally didn't escape and go free because, you know, a federal agent got hit with a skateboard. This guy that you see here is free just because he lives in a sanctuary city where he knows the Democrat Party as a whole will protect him, right? Now, what am I talking about? This is what I'm talking about concerning this guy here. Shout out to Libs of Chicago. Does great work on Twitter. Shout out to you. He put here Gabriel Valle Galvez. I'm sure I probably said his middle name incorrect. But check this out. Who is this? A 47-year-old member of the Latin Kings and illegal alien from Mexico with convictions for battery, aggravated assault, DUI, trespassing, criminal damage to property, public indecency, multiple assaults, and violated an order of protection. ICE requested a dozen times that he be detained, and each time he was released. This is how much leaders in this state care about your safety. That is pure insanity. Pure insanity. Libs of Chicago gives another example here. Oscar, I know I'm going to say the last name wrong. Vence, we'll just say Vence, whatever. Oscar V, right? Who's Oscar V? A 30-year-old illegal immigrant and member of the 2-6 Street Gang with convictions of aggravated use of a weapon and domestic battery. ICE requested that he be detained, but once again, Cook County Jail released him. As he stated in the last tweet, this is how much Illinois leaders care about your safety. This is utterly insane. This is beyond unacceptable. It's beyond unacceptable. What's even going on here? That you'll just be releasing people like this when you don't have to. That it just defies logic. And you wonder why Democrats are in the toilet right now, as far as the party is concerned. Now, where is, Libs of Chicago pulling all this from? Well, he's pulling it from this article here that Charlie Kirk references, right? Look at this here. It says ICE issues list of fugitive illegal alien gang members, kidnappers, violators of women, protected by sanctuary state Illinois, right? So these are the people that they're going after. We see them very specifically and clearly who they are and the crimes they committed. But if I let people like this guy tell it here, this is another situation of an ICE raid, not a raid, but an ICE operation in which all of a sudden people like this guy here showed up to protest and scream and yell, if I let him tell it, because he's been influenced by people like Karen Bass and Brandon Johnson, he'll tell you that there's something racist going on, when that's far from the case. That's far from the case. Why in the world would you want people like this and like this living amongst you? When you're talking about, you know, Trump derangement syndrome, it's truly a real thing. Why would you want people like this that you see here living amongst you? And you see that ICE is going directly after them. And in the midst of ICE going after them, you have ICE being attacked. You have people running down on them and assaulting them. This is crazy. This is complete, pure, unadulterated madness. Meanwhile, on MSNBC, you have DNC lunatics downplaying the gang problem in Chicago and making claims that police isn't what's needed in the midst of all this madness that you see here. Check this clip out from MSNBC next. Let me play this for you.
But this president has also long been obsessed with gangs in Chicago. It was actually a big part of his first run for Trump 1.0, was this idea that he was going to take on all the gangs in Chicago. That, of course, never really came to fruition. But what specifically are you concerned about, and which communities do you think need the most protection in this moment?
I think that the president wants to do everything he possibly can to instill the most fear in communities that are most vulnerable. Certainly immigrant communities, certainly Black communities, communities that have been vulnerable for a very long time for many reasons. And so that is why it's so important and you see it here in the protests. There are local people from the community who do deportation defense, who have been doing violence interruption work for years in the city of Chicago, that are trained to be able to mediate, to ensure that we are creating all of the peaceful tactics to be able to manage protests. They're at the forefront saying, we're going to do everything we possibly can to ensure that people feel protected. It's not gangs that Chicagoans are worried about right now. They're worried about the president of the United States of America deploying the very same people that are supposed to protect America against its own people.
They are worried about gangs. That's why they want more police. And that gets ignored, the fact that they want more police. I want to pull this up for you right now. Let me pull up this Fox 32 clip, right? Or I should say this Fox 32 article. Give me just a moment. Let me take this video down and pull this article up for you. So look at this here. There's a poll that was taken. This is from Fox 32. That's, you know, the local Fox station in Chicago, right? And it says here, the brief: most Chicago voters oppose Trump sending in the Army or National Guard. 70% opposing the Army and 65% opposing the National Guard. Okay, that's fine. And it says, though Hispanics show the most support for intervention. I find that very interesting. That's a very interesting piece of information to highlight. That despite the fact that the majority of people in Chicago oppose the National Guard, you know, coming into Chicago, of all people that have taken a poll, Hispanics are the most favorable towards it. I just think that's interesting in the midst of all the rhetoric that goes out here, right? But then check this out. Voters broadly back hiring more police, with higher support among Black and Hispanic residents.
One thing it seems like the communities aren't so divided on is more Chicago police officers among Black and Hispanic voters. That number was in the 80th percentile in terms of supporting more police officers, which maybe goes against the narrative that those communities are against the police.
Correct. I mean, I think one of the things that is clear in this poll is across the board, people want more police on the streets, whether you're Black, Hispanic, or white. You certainly want, it's 86% for African Americans, 82% for Hispanics, 64% for whites, not as high of a total for whites, but still a strong majority. So across the board, it's 75% of Chicago residents would like to see the Chicago Police Department hire more police officers and put them on the street. I do think that kind of flies in the face of what you're hearing from some elected officials, that we need to invest in things. It's pretty clear to me that no matter what race you are, wherever you are in the city, you do realize that the city needs some sort of help making the streets safer for the residents.
So they may not want the National Guard there, but they do want a stronger police presence. That's what they do want. But the problem is when you have a lunatic like the Emperor of the People's Republic of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, running the city, who consistently states that police isn't necessary. Well, he's not only going against the will of the people, but he's putting them in danger despite what the facts are here. And the facts are here is that these vulnerable communities, people in vulnerable communities, they actually do want more police. But you're not going to get them because you keep voting in lunatics like Brandon Johnson. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, man, until you vote better, you're always going to live under the conditions that you live under concerning violence and gangs. And then you have a situation here where, at least as it pertains to illegal immigrants who are gang members, at least you know that Trump is doing what he can to take them off the street. While that's happening, you have lunatics that are fighting against it, claiming that removing these gang members off the street is some way, somehow racist. And what I want to do next, as we bring this to a close, is I want to play a clip of Tom Homan addressing that. He's going to address whether or not this is discriminatory and solely based on race. So I want to play that for you next. But you know, now that I think about it, what I want to play first, and it's still from Tom Homan, is when he addresses the situation that happened at a Hyundai, right? And the reason that that's important for me to highlight is because you have to remember the Hyundai ICE raid that occurred a couple of days ago, which was the largest single operation kind of takedown that has occurred in American history, because at this one plant in Georgia, 475 South Koreans, illegal immigrant South Koreans who were working illegally, were arrested and taken away. That in and of itself alone blows the hole in the myth and the lie that ICE is discriminating against Latinos. It's not true. Now, will you see more videos of Latinos, illegal immigrants being arrested and taken away? Yes. Why? Because they make up about 80% of illegal immigrants. That's why. It's not because of any sort of racism. It's just simply a demographics. They make up the majority of them. But to lie and say that they're being targeted and singled out is just not true. Because once again, the Hyundai manufacturer that got raided, in which 475 South Korean illegal immigrants were taken away, proves that point. So let's get into this clip now. I want to play the portion where Homan talks about the Hyundai ICE raid, and then when he goes in to speak about whether or not discriminatory practices are being used. So let's get into that video clip next in closing.
Pardon me?
Sorry?
I missed you.
On Hyundai?
Hyundai.
The raid in Georgia?
Yeah.
I mean, is the administration in touch with the Korean government right now? What's sort of the update there? And then also, I mean, how much is the administration doing to work with South Korea on those permits, and then for other companies?
I appreciate the question, but I'm not in the loop on that case. I can just tell you, I'm not in the loop on that one. No, I'm border czar. I'm doing a lot. I'm not familiar with that case, but I will say this. I said from day one, we're going to increase worksite enforcement operations. It's a crime to enter this country legally, and it's also a crime to knowingly hire an illegal alien. They drive down wages, and they put companies that hire U.S. citizens out of business. And I can give you many examples of that. Every day, illegal aliens are employed by companies, undercut their competition that hires illegal aliens. They drive wages down. No one hires an illegal alien out of goodness of their heart. They hire them because they can work them harder, pay them less. Just like the farmers. There's a way a farmer can bring someone on, but they got to pay decent wages, got to provide housing. There's a right way and wrong way to do this, and President Trump demanded we do things the right way.
But for some reason, some way, somehow doing things the right way is racist. That's crazy, man. You heard everything he just said, concerning, they're not hiring illegal immigrants out of the goodness of their heart. I can work you harder for significantly less. And I don't have to worry about you entitled Americans that, you want competitive wages, safe work environment. You want your little 15-minute break. You're so entitled and stupid, dumb Americans, right? At least that's how business owners think. And that's why they will skip over you for an illegal immigrant, as Homan has laid out. That's what he laid out just now. Now, what I want to do next is let's fast forward a bit and get to the discrimination portion. So here's what he had to say about whether or not ICE is, employing discriminatory practices.
More boots on the ground.
To community members and leaders who are worried about profiling, what do you say? Are due process rights being violated?
No, look, ICE agents aren't racially profiling. The law says you got to establish reasonable suspicion to detain and question somebody, and I think the men and women, ICE and Border Patrol, are doing exactly that. And I think the Supreme Court disagreed with us in California case. There's the myriad of factors they take into consideration. They learn that in the academy. Every 6 months, ICE agents have a refresher training on Fourth Amendment that gives them the rules around detention, seizure, arrest, questioning, and so forth. They're very well trained. They bring a group of factors together until they establish reasonable suspicion to make an arrest. Like the big story was the jumping on back of Van Home Depot, how they established reasonable suspicion. Were they there when they did surveillance? Were they there when license plate numbers were copied and taken down and tried to build a case on who's hiring these people and where these people came from? Were they there when they run NCIC and III and intelligence data? Were they there when they screened social media data? The men and women at ICE do a good job, and they do it professionally, and they do it with integrity. So I think the Supreme Court agreed with us yesterday. Things are being done the right way.
I love when he explained that there, and I wanted to make sure to put that out there. They're not just randomly hopping out of vehicles going to Home Depots just to go there. You weren't there when they did all the surveillance and all the work that goes into these operations ahead of time, to which they made the determination to say, okay, this is where they are. There's 2-3 of them here. They come here every day at this Home Depot. License plate check, identity check, everything checked. Okay, go in, get them, and they go and get them. It's not racist, but you have guys with lengthy criminal records or who are wanted that are working and living amongst those that are at the Home Depot. And as Holman stated 1,000,001 times over, if you don't let us in the jails, then we'll have to take to the streets. And when we take to the streets, there will be, when there's casualties, as they like to call them casualties, those who they're not looking for but still happen to be illegal, they're not going to overlook them. They're going to take them too. So your anger towards ICE is misplaced, to say the very least. Your anger should be towards Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker in Chicago. It should be towards Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, because none of this would even be occurring if they would just honor ICE detainers. None of this would be occurring if they would just allow ICE to enter into the jails. But because they don't do that, they have to take to the streets, and here we are. With all that being said, that does it for today's news. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And please do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegrams in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until next video, peace and have a great afternoon.